Okay. Well, I think we'll go ahead and start. We have several announcements, and so we'll go ahead and start those rolling. And anything that's crucial, we'll kind of recap it at the end if we have more people joining us. Welcome tonight. We're thrilled to have the authors of 111 Places in Houston with us tonight. And this is a really busy time for WiVLA, and we're just been all over the place this last week. So I'm tired. Okay, first is last Saturday, we had our long-awaited 2020 Creative Vision social media workshop. And this coming Saturday is the second Saturday. Now, we teamed up with Clay Houston, and we've had a great turnout. More than, I don't know what the total was. It was more than 40, slightly less than 50, I think.
49, I think.
Yes. So it was just wonderful, and tons of information. So this coming Saturday is the hands-on version after last Saturday's overview. So pretty excited about this. Haley's done a masterful job getting everybody in and getting all the media coordinated and then recording, and then Melody has been handling that. So all of this great information will be available at some point on one of our channels or something. So watch for that. Let's start the way we used to in our in-person meetings. We began every meeting with the WiVLA mission statement. Now, WiVLA has been around since 1994. So last year was our 25th anniversary, and we made a big deal about it. We had a great year. So now with the pandemic, this is really a chance for us to, we've all reconnected, but we want to have that common factor of being aware of our mission statement. So I'm going to read, followed by Gretchen and then Melody. So to start it off, our WiVLA's mission is to provide an inspiring forum for women to explore and advance their creative development,
to promote their work in the marketplace,
and to infuse the community with their spirit of cooperation and invention.
Lovely, thank you. So that is our mission statement. You'll see it all over our WiVLA site. And that's what we do for Houston women. And we have been doing this all this time. So welcome tonight. Gretchen, would you fill us in on our collaboration, where the video is online and what else is going on with it?
All right. As many of you know, our Compassion exhibit is finally up and online. This is the one that was supposed to have been live at the Holocaust Museum this summer, but they have gone heads over heels, just putting together the video, and now it's online on our website, WiVLA.org, and on their website, hmh.org. If you go to their website, you go in the menu, you go to exhibitions, then to temporary exhibitions, and you can find it there. The book, the exhibition catalog, is also on sale at their bookstore. If you can't see the show at their museum, you have to go online to see that, but I encourage you to please go anyway to the museum. It's an incredible experience, and purchase a book there at the bookstore. Or you can go to WiVLA.org to not only see the video, but also to purchase the book. Both places, it's $25 each. At WiVLA, we'll also throw in an extra $4 for shipping. So, yeah. Share with your friends, watch it. It's a beautiful exhibit.
Thank you, Gretchen. Melody, wow, how about a recap about the reception last Thursday? That was a lot of fun. We watched the video together, and then we had a speaker. You want to tell us a little more about that?
No, that pretty much summed it up. Okay. Well, if you missed it, you really missed a good time.
Yeah.
The speaker, and I'm going to mess up her name, Gretchen, what's her name?
Teofy Gomez.
Teofy Gomez. She, after we watched the video, together. She described her thought process for putting it together, how she selected the music and the background. And I kind of learned a few things just listening to her that I'm going to take forward in my own work. But it was just fabulous. And at the end of her talk, we had some Q&A. Although she answered most of my questions during her presentation. And then we had a trivia contest. And we saw just how fast Corey Austin can type. It's just amazing. I thought I could type fast. But anyway, but she came in second, and I believe Joe Ryder won, right, Joe?
Yes. Where do I get my prize?
Yeah, I need to talk to you about that. No, we need to figure out how to get it to you, you and Corey.
I have a trivia question. Who was wearing a crown Thursday evening for a reception?
That Gretchen?
Gretchen was.
Yay!
That's a tiara.
Yes, it was a tiara.
Yeah.
I'm so bummed I forgot mine. But
Does anybody remember when we did the tiara party years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I still
That was
have
before
mine
my
sitting
time.
right here.
Okay.
anyway, I wanted to add just one thing. Debbie Blumberg, who has been our liaison with the museum and has just done a fabulous job of interacting or coordinating between the two groups, forwarded some email to us today. Evidently, the museum sent out an email blast to all of their members announcing the Compassion exhibition. So that's really exciting.
Okay.
And I don't know about y'all, but I've been sharing the link to this exhibition to everyone I've had the pleasure to know. So it really is great. And the art is good. The writing is fabulous. The writers you just outdid yourselves. So I encourage everyone to not only read the online version, but to get the book, because the book has more than just the excerpts that are online. So it's fabulous, and we should also be very, very proud.
I'd like to add something.
Oh, well,
And I'd like to add that you can go to the WiVLA website, and we have our own store now, WiVLA.org. There's a section for store, and we have one thing in it. That's the Compassion book. Here it is. Melody and everyone who proofread, Kay and everyone else did a beautiful job, and it's just gorgeous, showing off the artwork and the writing, and it even has words on the back. And we can send it to you as soon as an order comes in. I look at it, I print out the order form, I print it, I write a nice little note to you, stuff it in a beautiful envelope, and you get it first class. We only go first class. So anyone needs an extra one for a gift, one to keep, one to share, this is a great way to show off the work and share it at the same time. So either website, the museum has it, and then we have it. So it doesn't matter to us. We just want to share it and get it out there. So but now I'd like to call on Marie, one of our visual chairs, to talk about the virtual gallery and what's going on with that. Marie?
We have, first of all, hello, everybody. We have the two visual artists lined up, and I still need a writer. Now, this is the freebie show. It will launch on the 1st of November, and it will go through the end of the year. Melody had suggested that perhaps someone would want to share some haikus, and those would look lovely on a wall. I could enlarge them and display three on a wall. So if you're interested, let me know, send them to me, send it to visual, or you can send it to me, casamayor@att.net. Whoever sends it first, that's the one who I'm going to feature. And it's a freebie, and it'll be up 2 months.
Yeah, I think there's somebody in this meeting now who kind of writes a lot of haiku.
Sure, we have a lot of writers here tonight, so come on, somebody. And this is a link to the virtual gallery that you can share on all of your own social media and do an email blast and show it off. So it's really a way to get your work out there. So, you know, and to try out this platform, see if it works for you. Marie's done a beautiful job. Do we have one up somewhere that people can look at?
Yeah, we still have the one with the board members' work.
Is that on the website?
I can find the link and put it in the chat box.
It should be on the website. But
can
one thing about it, you know, when you have your work in the virtual gallery, we would be more than happy to show you how you can use the tools of the virtual gallery to share that information to your social media channels.
Okay,
They
yeah.
have, they have some built-in tools for that.
Free tutorial to go with it. So this is a great opportunity.
I set my stuff in, so I would love to have.
Yes,
I got yours, Rona. Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
You're one of the artists featured.
I appreciate it.
And Marie, what's the goal for this project? Just to get people to sign up for 1 month at a time, or is it 2 months at a time?
What we're doing is doing 2 months. So this will be November, December, and then we'll do another one at the beginning of the year, starting January. So every 2 months we have a new show featuring 2 visual artists and 1 writer.
Okay.
And I think this is, I mean, it's a beautiful platform. It's a great way to get your work out there, share it with your email subscribers, on your social media. It's just a great way to get the work out there.
It
And Marie,
satisfies our second goal, which we're
I was just going to say that.
Yes.
Yes.
To promote your work in the marketplace.
Oh, yeah.
And Marie, what's the deadline to get work to you?
For this one, I'm just looking for a writer right now. Get it to me as soon as you can. I'm going to be working on it. Usually what we want is the month before it goes up by the 15th. So 2 weeks before it goes up. So the ones that will launch in January, I would like to have the art by the middle of December.
But you can sign up. There's a sign up form on our website. So, you know, you can sign up and kind of get in the queue now. And then get the work when she tells you that, you know, yeah, we're ready, then you can get the work to her.
And you send the images. Yeah.
Any questions? visual@wivla.org, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So that's a terrific opportunity. Thank you, Marie. And Marie did a personal one too, and as a test. And the price is really reasonable, and she was able to cover more than 6 months worth of virtual shows by selling 1 piece of artwork. And so it's a great tool if you're trying to sell your work too. Okay, Ellen, let's talk about the literary readings. Can you give a little overview on that?
Another opportunity for WiVLA writers. Every year in November, we do have the meeting night devoted to writers and essays and poems and such. And when we came up, when we came up for the topic for this particular month, this November, with all the craziness that has gone on this year, we thought the best topic would be resilience, how you have made it through this far in 2020. And I know with some stories, we're going to be grabbing our Kleenex and crying, and with other stories, hopefully we'll be laughing and you know, rolling on the floor. So anything, poems, essays, resilience, which is the ability to get through a difficult time and you know, move through it and survive and hopefully thrive. So there will be a sign-up genius going out tomorrow, I understand. So look for that and put your name down on what time you want to read. We're looking for people to read for 5-6 minutes, not very long. And if you have a poem that's a little bit shorter, we'll love you anyway. So sign up and let us know how you got through this year. I know we all have stories to tell. So look for the Sign Up Genius tomorrow. We're looking for 10 of you to talk for 5 to 6 minutes. November 21st. No, November,
No.
November 17th.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Ellen. Yeah, we'll be sending out the Sign Up Genius, and you'll get an email, and it'll have the click on Sign Up Genius, and then there are all the different slots, and you pick your time slot. And there is a question also on there about permission to record. So we're recording our meetings, and we would love to record that meeting too. And people are reading their work, so just give your permission to record. It's would probably end up on our YouTube channel with a link in the website, I believe is how we're going to do it. But if you have any concerns about that, let us know. But every time we do a literary reading, we are like, oh, you know, about all the people who missed the chance to hear it. So this is a way that we can really preserve the moment and have our live readings available later on. It's just don't miss the meeting next month, but we're going to try to save them too. So
Lee, may I just say one more thing, Lee?
Yeah, please.
So if you do not want us to record, we're able to pause the recording in a Zoom meeting, okay? And so we will certainly honor your wishes. We do have a YouTube channel, and I think we've had it in the newsletter before, but I'll get with Haley to see that we get it in the newsletter again, so that you can that's not the word, follow? No, that's not, subscribe, that's the word. Subscribe to our channel. It's not like you're gonna get inundated. I think right now we have 3 videos in our channel. So it's not like we're putting in a new video every day, but you'll be able to see the readings and workshops and whatnot.
Yeah.
WiVLA could trend on YouTube just any minute now. So get in at the ground floor.
Yes. Okay. Terrific. So you can see we have a lot going on, and then we have things rolling into December too. So just keep an eye on the November newsletter. Will be coming out very beginning of November. So that if you have anything to go in the newsletter, you need to get it into newsletter at WiVLA.org now. So Haley has time to work on it and get your announcement in there. Otherwise, just watch. What?
I'm sorry. May I make one other announcement?
Yes, please.
Starting next month, we are going to have a section where one writer is stepping forward to, in this particular instance, it will be publishing a poem in the newsletter. A woman who has published several books of poetry, Barbara Carl, she's going to have one of her poems in the newsletter, and then we can all, run off to Amazon and order her books. And what I'd like to do every month, have one of our wonderful writers come to me and say, I've got a small essay and I don't have a word limit yet, or I've got a poem, and then we will work with Haley to get that in the newsletter. But I'd like to have one writer a month step forward and show off their work. And if you've got a book out there, give us a little bit of a reading so we can promote your book.
And didn't we have the haiku challenge also?
That's coming up. There should be more about that in the November newsletter, but that's for December, the holiday haiku, right?
Oh, that's right. The months are running together. Right.
Yes. Watch for news, write your holiday haikus now. It can be about any winter holiday. And we'll all be sharing those kind of in place of we don't get to have a holiday party in person, but we may do some special little thing and have some holiday cheer. So watch for all of this in your newsletter, website, Facebook page. And those of you who are joining us for the part 2 of the workshop this Saturday, oh man, it was so good last Saturday. And this Saturday you're getting all the hands-on. So we're really excited about that. Okay, on to our program. I am thrilled to have met these 2 women, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them first. Dana DuTerroil is a writer, lawyer, roller derby retiree, and co-owner with Joni of Trip Chandler. And that's a 2-woman team. They give tours of Houston to visitors and locals. And Dana is a Gulf Coast denizen. She grew up in Houston, yay, and loves exploring her own city, one strip mall at a time. Oh man, I bet she finds some good stuff. Okay, and then Joni Fincham is a Houston transplant via Kansas. We are not holding that against her. She's been all over North Carolina, Scotland, New Orleans. She's a new mom, so she has a native Texan, and she's the sidekick to Sophie, the French Spaniel. So Joni uses her MBA skills as co-owner of Trip Chandler, which the ladies will be talking about tonight. And they're giving tours through Trip Chandler. There's they'll tell you what all the social media is attached to that. So their Instagram is really fun to look at. So Dana and Joni have written the book, 111 Places in Houston That You Must Not Miss. And this book is just wonderful. My husband and I were flipping through it. We've already bought several copies for Christmas gifts, and reading through it, it's like, oh yeah, I love that, I love that. And then there are new places for you to find out about. So even if you are a native, there are things in here that you must not miss. So now I'm going to turn it over to Joni and Dana DuTerroil and Joni Fincham, and let them tell you their story and about Houston sidewalk stories. Take it away, ladies.
Thank you.
Give me 1 second. I will get this going. Excuse me, I'm on my husband's computer and he has like, I don't understand. His mouse is like the trickiest mouse in the world. Like it's so sensitive. Okay, so let me go back. Okay, so thank you for the lovely introduction, Lee, and thank you all for having us tonight. We're very excited to be here. So I'm Joni, and that's Dana. I'm sure you'll have figured that out. And we are exactly the 2-woman team behind Trip Chandler. And we do write about Houston, and we love to give tours to locals and visitors who want to explore the city. For tonight's presentation, we're excited to share with you a virtual Houston mural tour, highlighting Houston's street art scene response to the protest calls and social justice for equality in America. And then after the virtual tour, we'll take you behind the scenes of our company and our biggest project to date, the release of our book, as Lee showed off, 111 Places in Houston That You Must Not Miss. So I'm going to hand it off to Dana.
All right. Thank you, Joni. So I'm going to kick off our virtual street art tour with vandalism to iconic Houston art. As the title suggests, we're going to start with an example of what most people would consider graffiti, carried out under the cover of darkness by a dude wearing a hoodie, armed with paint, a roller brush, and clearly no fear of heights. In September of 2012, the words "Be Someone" appeared on a train bridge above I-45 South. What started as an act of graffiti tagging soon became the tagline of Houston, resonating with commuters who found inspiration in the simple phrase while sitting in traffic. Be Someone eventually resulted in a change.org petition, which now has 35,000 plus signatures requesting a protected landmark designation for Be Someone. In lieu of that status, the unidentified artist, who also refers to himself as Be Someone, takes care of it. He will return to the scene in the wee hours with the assistance of a lookout to repaint the Be Someone tag when others have altered it. There's a theory that he's allowed to do this without fear of arrest, given its popularity as a work of unofficial public art, because most graffiti writers would be busted returning to the scene of the art crime. So over the years, alterations have occurred to the Be Someone artwork. And they ranged from B1, B football, B mattress Mac, as you see on the slide. And for pandemic season, wash your hands as a personal hygiene reminder. Shortly after the wash your hands appeared, a volunteer crew documented their repainting efforts to restore Be Someone. And they wanted to put it back to its unauthorized glory. So you can see here how the process works, hanging over the bridge with roller brushes. They were able to complete the job in 3 hours and used 2 cans of paint.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of nerve or crazy. And now, if we go to the next slide, you can see that Be Someone is a brand. You can actually buy your very own Be Someone mask from Be Someone's website, along with other merchandise. More recently, the Be Someone had George Floyd's name painted over it in gray, serving as an impromptu memorial for the former Third Ward resident. And in its current state, in response to the upcoming election, Be Someone has been replaced by a very urgent message: vote or die. Among graffiti writers, there's an unwritten rule that you don't just paint over someone's work unless you can make it better. And what we see here is kind of an interesting pattern. We've seen a public health crisis, a grave injustice, and a presidential election, all inspiring street art versions of a public service announcement, temporarily interrupting the Be Someone message. So I advise everyone to watch this space for what turns up next, especially on November 4th. So now we're going to go on to our next street art stop, and we're going to look at how the mini mural civic arts beautification project gave rise to a recent memorial. Since 2016, Up Art Studio, supported by the city and arts organizations, has spearheaded the makeover of Houston's utility boxes. A variety of local artists have painted over 200 of these boxes. Some of them reflect the heritage of the neighborhood, while others are just whimsical eye candy. When Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died on September 18th, thousands gathered outside the US Supreme Court and her childhood home in Brooklyn. In Houston, a mini mural of the 4 female Supreme Court justices became our city's makeshift memorial to the trailblazing justice. Flowers and notes were left behind, along with an oversized version of Ginsburg's signature lace collar, draping the mini mural, which is located on 20th and Heights Boulevard, facing Hamilton Middle School. In that moment, the mini mural provided the Houston community with a connection to RBG we could call our own. And the artist, Jessica Padilla, known as Jexy, has painted about 11 mini murals throughout the city, including a portrait of international women's education activists and Nobel Peace Prize recipient Malala Yousafzai, which is located on Ella and East TC Jester. And Jessica has also painted the mini mural that is at North Shepherd and 10th, where Lesha Adams, the woman depicted on the mural, had stopped to help a man in a wheelchair cross the street when they were both fatally struck by a vehicle, which eventually led to the installation of a protected crosswalk, which you can see in the photo. In Jexy's artist statement, she writes, "I strive to add beauty to the world with my art, but what I create is beyond a decorated surface. Art communicates a message. It evokes an emotion." So against that backdrop, I'm going to leave you with a kinder, gentler form of tagging known as the yarn bomb, a subspecies of graffiti much more in touch with its feminine side. In Houston, members of Knit a Please roamed the streets of Montrose in 2005, covertly covering stop signs in cozy knits. More recently, I was pleasantly surprised to come upon a turtleneck tree reminding us all to exercise our right to vote on Heights Boulevard. And now Tony's going to take us on the second part of our tour.
So we're going to talk more about social justice with the idea that murals are the new monuments. The temporary nature of street art in many ways makes it an ideal medium for messages of social justice. These memorials and calls to action can be put up in a few hours and can last for years or even decades. They can also evolve as a movement evolves and grows. So with that in mind, let's take a look at a few murals around the city that have become like monuments. So after George Floyd's murder on May 25th, murals began popping up all around Houston, from a bail bond storefront marking the 8 minutes and 46 seconds to the poignant addition of his memorial next to Trayvon Martin's, which had been there for years on the side of the Green Seed Vegan on Alameda. In this slide, we're looking at the work of local artist Daniel Nguilu, or as he's known by his handle, Wea. And he had originally painted this piece at the graffiti park for a judicial race. But after George Floyd's incident, then he modified the piece by keeping the vote portion of the mural and replaced the candidate's face with George Floyd's, along with the message, "I can't breathe." And we will have to see how long this mural lasts, not because of a new social justice message taking its place. It's because there are probably substantial rumors circulating that the graffiti building is going to be torn down soon. So if you have any pictures you want to get there, I would go get them now. So the next one is the mural that has probably become the most iconic George Floyd mural in the city. It was painted by the popular mother-son duo Donkey Boy and Donkey Mom. And it's just a few blocks away from where Floyd grew up in the historic 3rd Ward. Other murals with Black Lives Matter messages have joined this piece on the empty building on the corner of Elgin and Ennis. And shortly after painting this piece, Donkey Boy and Donkey Mom were asked to paint another memorial, this time for Vanessa Guillen. And I would encourage you all to look up and read Donkey Boy's, or his actual name, Alex Roman Jr., his op-ed on July 11th in the Houston Chronicle, where he talks about his works honoring George Floyd and Vanessa Guillen. He speaks about how the murals can instigate conversation, calls for action, while also serving as a place for a community to gather and mourn the loss of loved ones. And at this time, he was working with other artists in the city to see that there were 20 murals of Vanessa around Houston, one for each year of her life. And here's a couple that came out of that work. The one on the left is on the building adjacent to the George Floyd mural in the 3rd Ward. And this other one is on a local restaurant. As well, tributes and calls for justice for Breonna Taylor have also been added to our street art scene here in Houston, especially after the grand jury decision. So on the left, you can see her name and Sandra Bland's name added to this mural, which flanks George Floyd's mural in the 3rd Ward that we had just seen in the previous slides. Now the mural on the right is a new one that is sponsored by Project Row Houses near the El Dorado Ballroom. And it's the work created by the nonprofit Black Man Project. And it features Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and Ahmaud Arbery, and an interactive QR code, which takes the viewer through a breathing meditation, breathing in peace, exhaling fear, and using breath to make change. So our next stop, we're going to visit an older mural. And this mural has been around for almost 50 years, and it's been also given new life. The Rebirth of Our Nationality was originally painted by the well-known Chicano muralist Leo Tanguma in 1973 on the then Continental Can Company on Canal Street in the East End. Tanguma's work represents the struggles which the Mexican-American community encounters living in America. And many of these representations still feel appropriate for our current times, just as they did in 1973. This massive mural, it was recently revived in 2018 by local street artist Gonzo 247, who worked in consultation with Tanguma to keep true to the spirit of the mural. And it's definitely a mural you have to see in person. The photos just don't do it justice, most of all because it's so large. This is only half of the mural. And we'll end our visual tour of murals outside of the Station Museum, where these murals were added and inspired for artists, and the artists were inspired by how communities have been affected by police brutality and unjust violence happening in our own country. And the Bloom for Real here is by local artist, Lovey Olivia, assisted by her partner and fellow as artist, Pritika Rajgaria. And I think it's a nice piece to finish our tour with, because as all the art that we've seen looking this evening as memorials or protests or calls to action is truly really about planting seeds for positive change. So in the next half of our presentation, we're going to leave the tour, and we hope that our virtual tour kind of give you an idea of our style of tours that we offer and tell you a little bit more about ourselves. So Dana and I started Trip Chandler in 2015 with the goal of showing off the best of Houston to visitors, especially to locals who want to get out and explore the city. We had both found ourselves in unfulfilling jobs and wanted more creativity and freedom in our work. We started with the idea that we would be able to create custom guides for visitors to explore the city at their own leisure. However, this was a hard concept to sell, so we had to evolve. And that evolution took us to writing for various online and print publications and ghostwriting blogs for particularly realtors. The tour part came later, and it was a little bit trickier for us. While we were kind of excited about the idea, we were reluctant because of liabilities and transportation issues. However, we've worked through those barriers, and I'm really glad so, because it's one of our favorite things that we do. We try to create thematic and or neighborhood-oriented walking tours or step-on tours. And you can see here in our photos, that's Dana showing off the murals to the village school students. We've been able to do several tours for them and their students that are on campus. And then over here is a mural tour that we did for South Texas College of Law, their art seminar. And now Dana is going to tell you the story of how we got the 111 Places book.
Yes, this is the portion where we say how we got this gig. So as Joni mentioned, the writing side of our business had really expanded, and we had often created themed guides for publications, ranging from a feminist city guide for the Unearthed Women Travel magazine. We paired art with local breweries for October, which is a digital magazine that's all about beer. And we did a guide to navigating the medical center for cancer wellness. But we always really wanted to do our very own Houston guidebook. However, we knew that self-publishing would simply be a labor of love. And at this point in our business and writing career, you know, we knew our worth, and we wanted a proper publisher with an editor and an advance. So we just kept on looking, and we looked constantly on various social media sites for different kinds of writing jobs and requests for pitches and calls for pitches. And in June of 2018, we found one. We saw a request that was seeking writers in Houston, among other cities, for the 111 Places guidebook series. And this is what it read. Who are you? Our top-selling authors are local experts who love their city and know lots of secrets and interesting things in it. You don't have to have a published book before, but you have to love to write, do research, and get out and talk to people. You must be extremely organized and extremely deadline-oriented. Writing partners welcome to contact me together. Well, this description was Joni and I all day long. We were like, this is our perfect match. We really felt like this fit us to a T. And a city like Houston, you know, it has a mere handful of guidebooks. So we really saw this as an opportunity to showcase the city in a way that had not been done before, with storytelling instead of listicles as the format, and also from the perspective of people who actually lived here rather than people who just kind of, you know, came in and, you know, maybe were toured around by some influencers and then, you know, wrote it from the convenience of their, you know, home somewhere else. the 111 series was the kind of book that we really wanted to write because of their emphasis on people living in the city where they were writing about. And particularly for Joni and I, as someone who grew up in Houston, moved away and came back, and Joni, who's a transplant, I think we also felt like we truly kind of represented a lot of typical Houstonians. You know, you do actually have Houstonians who were born and raised, and you do have tons of transplants. So we like that perspective. So we basically had to sell this whole, idea to the editor. So the first step was that pitch. This was to the editor of North America, and she's actually joining us on this talk tonight, and along with her sister, who is the author of the 111 Places in Washington, D.C. book. So we're really happy to have them with us in the audience. And so our pitch for Karen, we had to submit a descriptive list of 20 places with 2 chapters and a business plan for marketing and our bios. Categories for the places included street art, scenes of crimes and scandals, unexpected artifacts, abandoned buildings, and an unusual bathroom. So after our pitch was accepted, the editor, Karen, she became our coach, and she helped us craft the full proposal, which would be reviewed by the publishing team, which is in Germany. And they, in particular, love unusual bathrooms and haunted places. So the full proposal that we had to put together consisted of 50 places and 4 chapters. We were finally approved as authors via text message from Karen on February 1st, 2019. It's a text that I still have saved on my phone as an important milestone in our relationship as writers and business owners, and meeting that goal that we so much wanted. So we started writing. And when we weren't writing, we were both out in the field conducting interviews with the people behind the places that we wanted to include in the book. So we put together a little scrapbook of some of our personal highlights. And for me, that included channeling Elizabeth Taylor for our bathroom chapter and fawning over her wedding album in a university archive in what sort of became my Houston version of 6 Degrees of Elizabeth Taylor. I had no idea she had so many Houston connections. And I was also mesmerized by the neon lights in the studio, which created a very Vegas city landmark that is in Houston, as well as the collection of Indian wedding bling in the Mahatma Gandhi district. All of these in-person visits were just so rewarding. As writers, we're usually at our laptops, so getting out and getting to meet people was really fulfilling, especially now that we can share these stories in print with the rest of Houston and the world. And now Joni is going to share some of her favorite moments as well.
So PABA, or Progressive Amateur Boxing Association, is my story of persistence / stalking. I so wanted to know the story about this boxing gym, which isn't very far from my house in the 3rd Ward. And it just, the more I looked about it, they talked about, Houston's first fighting preacher, and he had like this, they knew Muhammad Ali was involved. So I was like, oh my gosh, I have to figure this out. And they were never there during their posted hours. I left countless voicemails, Facebook messages, they all went unanswered. I mean, I actually just called and left a message saying like, please call me back. This is not an advertisement. I don't want money. I just want to share your story in a book. And that must have finally got through, because then Ray Jr. just suddenly texted me back and he said, I'm at the gym. I immediately dropped everything, ran over to the gym, and I'm so glad, because he was so excited, because I brought a sample of one of the other books and he's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So it really was a great story, and I'm so excited for that chapter to be in the book. The other one is Lucky Land, and if you see here, this is a picture of my son Lawrence when he was posing with the giant pandas at Lucky Land. And I thought, as a women's organization, it was important to highlight that one of the best parts about working as a team with Dana is that we get to take care of each other, which includes being very family friendly. So, you know, Lawrence was always able to go with me a lot of the times to, you know, appropriate site visits. I didn't take him to the bars. But, you know, it's also great because now he's a little bit older and he's been accompanying us on book deliveries, and he's been having a lot of fun with that. And, you know, but it also goes just beyond childcare, working together as a team. We really kind of help each other manage the business and our lives together. Like, it really is kind of a team effort to make these things work. And then Neon Boots, the antique phone booth, that's kind of a story of some place that the owners were so sweet, and oh my gosh, they loved that they have this antique booth. They claim that it's where Elvis once broke up with his first manager, but I'm not sure. But it didn't make the chapter, so hopefully when I deliver their book, they won't be too sad. And then finally, you know, as Dana said, it really was so fun just going out and talking to people, and the passion behind all these places and just the uniqueness. So Cactus King, they have all these like amazing cacti and succulents. And, you know, throughout this process, I learned so many new interesting things. And the one I will just never get over is the fact that someone will pay $8,000 for a cactus. And that's pictured right there. So it's because of its variety, its size, and something with its swirling. I'm not a cactus expert, so I will leave it up to them that that's actually worth $8,000. So that's kind of our behind the scenes. We wanted to say, keep in touch with us for sure. So I will make sure Lee and everyone who needs it has our information about our social media and our websites and how to keep in touch with us. And our final slide, we want to say buy local if you want to buy our book. Blue Willow and Brazos. It was really fun because we had several, you know, friends and family in town pre-order the book from those places, and then family and friends who pre-ordered from Amazon. Some of them still haven't gotten their books, but Blue Willow and Brazos were like getting them out right away. Cafe TH is a small little Vietnamese cafe here in Edo, and we know the owner Min, and he's just been a cheerleader for us. I mean, I would go when I needed a break from being at home to write, I would go right there sometimes. And he's so sweet, and he was like, I'm going to buy some books and we're going to resell them. So we helped him, you know, facilitate that. And so he's selling the books for us. And then Cactus Music and Colin Stone are in the book, and they'll be ordering those soon. And Murder by the Book, they have it on their pre-order. And of course, you can buy it on any website that you really want, or your own local bookstore. And then finally, we'll put in a plug to go visit 111places.com and see what other cities are out there. You know, we were excited about this project, most of all because these are fun books. Like because we're authors of these, you know, I bought several other versions. I bought the DC version, so maybe Andrea can speak up to us. It was really fun just to read all these stories, and it kind of gives you a sense of traveling in the place, while also kind of being a guidebook, but just something that you can kind of arm show travel with. So with that, we're going to open up for Q&A, and I did warn Karen that we knew that she was on. So if you guys have questions for Karen as an editor, I'm sure she would be happy to answer those as well.
In the chat or in person?
You can ask out loud. I just unmuted everyone. So if you want to unmute yourself, you can.
So do you know about the Gulfton murals?
Yes.
Okay, I just didn't know if they were in your book. I worked with Aisha Siddiqui before from chat. Okay. So yeah, I haven't done the tour yet. I'd like to do the tour of the Gulfton murals.
Yeah, those are really beautiful. No, we haven't done as many tours with it just because they're a little bit further out. Right. But they've done some really they've also had a lot of good promotion and a lot of good like tours taking people out there, which is really exciting.
Yeah. When we can do tours again, it would be something fun to do with one of the art.
Yes.
Yes. So
how did you identify your interesting spots?
Well, they did give us, you know, a little framework to work with. So we did have, you know, a list of categories. And I think, you know, both of us, like anyone who lives here, you got like the places that, you know, sort of come to mind. But having that criteria helped because you made you a little more objective. And really the goal was to find places that, you know, were sort of, you know, unknown or really I'd like to call them hidden in plain sight. And also places that people knew about, like a museum, but maybe they didn't know about a certain, you know, piece in their collection, or maybe just like, you know, a door, or, you know, something that was just like an architectural, like, you know, reference that people didn't know about. So it gave us a lot of room to be really creative and also to really, you know, encompass the entire city. Because, you know, there is, of course, you know, for us, live inside the loop and you kind of get in your zone and you think you know, you kind of know what's there, but going, you know, really expanding that gave us a lot more opportunities to represent the city.
And we also tried to pick places that could help us be like, that place would be a way to tell a story of the diversity of Houston, which not might have like an actual place, but then you can say, oh, like, you know, this place, and then you can give a shout out to, you know, a different organization or different ways and different diverse groups. And so that was kind of a good way for us to kind of put things together. And Karen was very, you know, kind. So one of the things we ended up, well, we had too much public art in our first list.
Yeah.
And now we understand why. We get it. It is very hard. You have to track down the artist rights, and so, you know, we were able to get through that. And then the other place that we had a lot of were sacred spaces, and so we had to cut a few of those just because, you know, 111 places, if 25 of them are sacred spaces, it's kind of unbalanced. So
right.
I can't exaggerate that. But
I was very good about, you know, not curbing my enthusiasm for cemeteries.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So how did you two meet?
Oh, that's a fun story.
Yeah.
So my husband's is also a law professor. Like he teaches with Mark Steiner, and Derek's area is art law. And when we moved to Houston, he was involved with this organization that ran postgraduate programs in a small town in Italy called Emilia in Umbria. And I had just finished my MBA. I have a background in nonprofits. So they were like, hey, do you want to be the director? You guys can go live in Italy for 3 months every summer. I'm like, great. But then we had, you know, people applying, and Dana's brother Renee actually applied, and he came and he met us. We found out, you know, his dad only lives a few blocks away from us in Montrose at the time. And it was great. He was going to sign up and be one of the students because he actually lives in Florence. It fell through that he couldn't come as a student, and then our assistant, who spoke fluent Italian and I don't, dropped out on us last minute. So we hired him. So we spent the whole summer hearing stories about Sister, as he calls her. And so it was really kind of fun. And then when he would come back and visit, he would invite us to birthday parties. And then suddenly, you know, I would be at a restaurant and be like, that's Renee's sister. And then we'd be like at shows and I'd be like, I'm pretty sure that was, you know, them. And then we kind of started hanging out, and then realized that I think we've been to all the same concerts and different places all at the same time. So.
Yeah, and it ended up being this really great combination because I think, you know, Joni, like she said, you know, she really brings the business side. That's her comfort zone. Spreadsheets are her, you know, happy place. That's my scary place. So we really like kind of completed each other's, and really, you know, being writing partners, I don't think is for everyone, but for us, it's really been a fun experience. And that's how we, you know, approach the book. We took different, you know, chapters, but I think when it reads, it's fairly seamless because we kind of have a similar approach and style to things. So that's been a fun collaboration to work with someone else.
If I could pipe in,
Interestingly,
Welcome.
I'm their editor. I'm Karen.
Hi, Karen.
We never actually had a video chat.
No,
Oh, I know. Oh my God.
I know.
You're beautiful. Nice to see you. So interestingly, I found them that ad that you heard was from a secret hidden Facebook group for women writers. It's called The Binders. And it was when Mitt Romney said, I hire women, I have binders full of women. And so somebody created all these groups and subgroups that are secret and hidden away. Maybe some of you are on them, but I finally got invited to the Binders for Travel Writers. And that's how we came across each other. So girl power. But our books are, they are treasure hunts. And of course, our this year has just been horrible for sales because there's nowhere to sell them. Literally every single shop and store and museum has been closed around the world. Can you imagine that? And even Amazon wasn't selling books because they had to send out all the, pandemic emergency items. So it's been quite an experience, but what I found, I was stuck in Brooklyn, nowhere to go, I had an injured foot, so I couldn't walk to the other boroughs. But I could walk a little bit. I took 111 places in Brooklyn that I had edited. I've known the author for a long time and found the treasures right outside my front door. So I'm like, I'm not just an editor, I'm a customer too. But they are like ways to explore closer to home, and they are treasure hunts. And also, if you ever have guests over and they're like, oh, what should we do? You hand them the book and you say, pick a cluster or pick a subject and we'll go find them. You want to find that weird bathroom? We'll go there. Do you want to find the cemetery? We'll go there. Are you interested in art? Let's go find all the art places. So it's, there are many different ways. People use them in all different ways. And the Houston book is just, it's like, well, the stories are fantastic. The photos are amazing. And when they came together, it was like alchemy. It was like this gold. And I just love it. And working with Joni and Dana has been like my favorite thing in the world, except my sister who's here. I asked her, she's been for 100 years.
That was no big.
There she is.
I said to her, I said, do you know anyone who could write 111 places in Washington, D.C.? And she's like, hello, little sister, it's me. So, but I knew it was her. I knew there was nobody who knew and was committed to the city of DC, not the politics, not the history, but all of the hidden secrets in Washington. There's a lot. It's much smaller than Houston, so it's a different kind of book. But one thing, we got Andrea got a 1-star review on Amazon one time that I just love because it's true. These people wrote, we bought this book. It was our first time in Washington and it was completely useless. It had nothing that we needed about hotels and restaurants. And I said, that's exactly right. It's not for you. You should have read this book. People who know their cities and want to know them deeper. And so it's, I walk around Brooklyn. I've lived there for a long time, or New York in general. And I'm like, I did not know there was a Civil War burial ground right around the corner. I didn't know that this tree was from England and it came over, 300 years ago. I didn't know that the oldest living thing in New York City is a tree. I didn't know that, even though every New Yorker claims they know New York, but and I'm sure Houston is similar. You know your city, it's your city, but Dana and Joni may have some surprises for you. And not to blow any surprises, we haven't signed the contract yet, but 111 places. We also have a sub-series called 22 Walks. And my publisher in Germany called me up and said, we want to do 22 walks in the United States and Canada. And I said, have you seen us? We don't walk. We don't walk in America. But he insisted, and he's right. And so we're trying to figure out the process, but hopefully Dana and Joni will be launching on a whole new experience and adventure with me. And Andrea hopefully will be doing 22 walks in Washington with another co-author. So, you know, if any of you are authors, let me know. And one other thing, you know, if your group, just as a business thing, if your group wants to do a fundraiser with 111 Houston, we can get it to you for an excellent, like probably lower than wholesale as a nonprofit. Or if you want to buy them as a box for yourselves and then you can buy them at wholesale, we love that. We would love to support what you do because it's so important. So you can
I think that's great. We'll be talking about that.
Yeah,
that's
gonna say,
great.
Yeah, please do. I can send you the info.
I had a question. This is for Karen and Dana and Joni. How did you, where'd the photographer come from? Did the editor pick that, or who is this photographer that worked with you on these?
Did I find him on Instagram? Or
No, we did. Yes, okay. We did. And we had Joni and I had been following him even before this, book came on our radar because he did a lot of photography at concerts. And so we were used to seeing him at shows and he, and so we were, kind of really big fans of his Instagram, which also featured kind of like funny, like Houston, humor. And so we thought he would be a good fit. And in fact, we had two other photographers that we also, suggested to Karen. I think that's one of the things that's also really cool about 111 is, giving, the authors the opportunity to find people locally so you kind of know who you're working with and, they're really responsive to that local element. And so his name is Daniel Jackson, and he's, born and raised in Houston, and he did the photography for the book.
And he goes by, all of his social media is Listen Young Man.
Yeah.
Did he use drones on some of those pictures?
No, there might be a couple of the photos that were supplied. So a few places they would either prefer or just because of permissions and different things, it may have been easier just to get a photography supplied.
Yeah, those Be Some ones looked.
Those are,
yeah.
The photos tonight in tonight's presentation either were taken by Dana or me, or we got them off the internet, especially the ones that Be Someone. Yeah, those are taken by drones. Those are not.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No one, yes. No one.
No, we're not driving. Yeah, we're not drone flyers, and I'm, Dana, we don't take scary photos on the interstate. So
only from the car. But our photographer did have to do some skating for a shot.
So I have a question.
The craziest shot was the mariachi mass.
Yes.
It's a very dark space. And he couldn't get the day he went, the photos were too dark. And then we tracked down an NPR or a PBS photographer from Austin who sent me pictures that were also blurry and dark. And then and the team had to get the mariachis back to church on the outside to reshoot their portrait.
Well, it ended up being inside, so it's at the St. Joseph's Mariachi Mass, and I was because they had stopped doing mass and then they went back to it, and then I was like, I told Dana, I was like, well, they're back doing the mass, but I was like, half of them are in their 80s. I'm like, I don't really think they should be doing this mariachi.
Yeah.
Anyway, they did, and so we just came and they were great. So then we waited till everyone was done with mass, and then we did a photo shoot with them, and that was really great. And then I hopefully will be delivering their books to them this weekend because they're so excited. And that's kind of the fun part too about this series is you get to highlight places that they're like, oh my God, you want to put me in a book, which is really, really, really cool.
So I have a question. Wait. Sorry. I have been trying to ask my question. So Houston has this reputation of tearing down, and you mentioned one of the Murals, you better come see it quickly because, you know, the building may get torn down. And I know back in the day, back when you guys were probably very young, you know, one of the crazy places was Roy Hoffein's suite at the Astro World Hotel. So I'm like,
Astro Hotel.
Yeah, I was able to be up there a couple times. So does Houston offer some interesting challenges with you have to update this book as things get torn down, or?
Actually, I was surprised at how much was still there, to be perfectly honest. I think that, you know, with a lot of places, I think that's actually a challenge. But you do have to be pretty, you do have to kind of think about it in the long term. But I think that's why places like bars and restaurants and shops tend to be much more of a problem, I would say, in that category than buildings. And funny enough, I mean, one of the categories was abandoned buildings, which we actually do have a lot of. You know, see the Astrodome.
Well, I mean, it's hard to imagine that the Shamrock Hotel would have ever been torn down for those of us that have been here.
Sure.
Yes. And that was an amazing place on the inside, as well as the Astro World Hotel. I mean, Roy Hoffein, I mean, you know, so it's there are some really interesting, fascinating places that have been torn down. And I think part of that is Houston doesn't, as a whole, doesn't value a lot of our older buildings, and things just get
I definitely think that's
new.
That's true. Yeah. And I think part of it too is sometimes we don't always realize something is really, I mean, some of those are like very identifiable, but you know, we do have a lot of historical buildings that are beautiful and amazing that we're still lucky that we have them. Yeah. But you know, like if we don't try and start moving, like there needs to be a bigger movement for preservation in Houston. And actually one of our, you know, great resources was Jim Parsons at Preservation Houston. And he has, you know, they do a lot of work, and if you go on any of their tours, like it really is actually amazing how much history it's hidden. A lot of it is hidden. And I don't know if any of you saw the pictures where, I forget exactly where on Main Street, where it's just like a storefront or whatever, but they had to take off the facade, and underneath is this beautiful Art Deco building, but they had to cover it back up because they don't have the money to properly preserve it.
Yeah.
And, you know, Preservation's Houston's point was, it's still there. We know it's still there, so we can still preserve it, but we need to work with them to, you know, protect the building and help them get funding so that we can start having this. And there's more buildings like that downtown, which I think is really interesting.
Wasn't that the Sears building?
No, that's another one. So that one, well, that one got torn down.
Yeah, that's gone.
That's done.
So I think it's really interesting that you've published this book, because most of us, when people come to visit Houston again, when COVID's over, I mean, we really can't think of that many places to take them that are interesting. You know, it's just, the murals have been more now, so that's what places, but you know, you always think of Houston as a business town and not somewhere to take tourists around. So I think
always a funeral museum.
Yeah. Yeah. You got that one. Yeah.
It's great.
I think Dana's neighbor, what did she say? Which I thought was a really great way to put it. It's like, it's the answer to that question. Like,
right.
Why come to Houston? Or what do I do?
Right. And we do tend to kind of, you know, sort of believe our bad press sometimes. And I think that was something that, you know, we really wanted to, you know, put that stereotype to rest, because it's really, you know, in a way a disservice to all the amazing artists and you know, writers and chefs. And you know, Houston is not necessarily a, you know, picturesque city throughout it, but in a way we like, we embrace that, right? Like that's the funny thing about one strip mall at a time. That's our authentic self. Some of our best restaurants are in strip malls, so we kind of have to, we break the mold of that kind of traditional city of what they're supposed to look like and be like. And that's why something I think that's funny that like Be Someone, which is, this gritty, like urban art, can kind of something people connect to, because they're not, nothing has to, fit this sort of predetermined image that you might find in other cities that are real tourist, bound. It's really a clean slate here.
I wanted to speak to having a connection to the Be Someone letters. For years now, whenever as a family we're coming back from the airport or coming back from visiting a relative north of town or a friend, we would see that and I would exclaim to it, it would be someone, and hard time in my life I would go, I'm working on it. Or the next time I read Be Someone and I would say, getting there, and it would just go crazy. But I always loved it, and I really appreciate your remarks tonight that talked about the street and the mural art and its effect on neighborhoods and on the city. So thank you. I thought that was a really nice part of your presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
There was one point with the Be Someone where someone had added a word on the end and off next to it, and it said Be Someone Else. And I don't know how long that one was up there, but it didn't interrupt the Be Someone. It just made a comment.
Right.
But it is fun. I mean, it is one of those things where you're like, just like when you're getting around that turn, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go buy the Be Someone. I wonder what it says. So it's really is a fun.
And I
wanted to mention in the book
that
what I like about the book was that there are places that I went to 35, 40 years ago. La Carafe on Old Market Square, that's still there, so.
When you were a small child.
Yes, I was underage back then. Okay, and then Rockefeller's, going to see concerts at Rockefeller's.
Yeah.
So it's a great mix of that. And then new places like the Silos at Sawyer Yards is in there. And but then there are old things I've never been to, like the Freedman's Town Labyrinth. I didn't know that was there. So there's some really kind of things you could do. And then the graffiti building, I live right down the street from that. And yeah, they do change that. And I hope that doesn't get knocked down or anything. But just the whole mix of the memory lane and then things I've never heard of, and then new things. I think it's great that way. It's not going to be ever outdated.
Nice, yeah.
Well, to add to what you're saying, every chapter is a story. So even if you never get to Iceland, or you never get to Austin, or you never get to Washington, or you never get to the other side of Houston, every chapter is a really cool story. So it's not just like, go to the Silos and here's the address. It's here's what the history is. Here's who founded it. Here's what the experience is when you're there. And the record store. This is the person behind it and the stories behind it. So they're good for reading too, not just heading out, but and that's why they're sort of great for armchair travelers as well.
No, I mean, they're a fun series. I mean, and I was telling Lee earlier today, I'm like, this is my new bully pulpit. I'm like, everyone needs to know this series who really likes to travel, because not the people who want hotels and restaurant recommendations, but I mean, definitely, when we can start traveling again, these are books I'm going to pick up because, I've been reading, like I said, I read, several to kind of get an idea of like what people were doing with the series. And they're really fun books. And it makes you kind of go to a different neighborhood that you probably wouldn't. And then, who knows from there what you're going to discover that isn't in the book, which I think is a really, really fun way to travel.
Oh,
Anderson
Karen wants
Fair
to
made
know
the cut.
So Anderson Fair, although we are fans of Anderson Fair, they are not in the book. One thing that is a challenge for the book in general is approaching people. Sometimes, not everyone wants to necessarily be in a book. I mean, first of all, some places it's really hard to convince them that you are not trying to sell them advertising. So there's there's that part of it. And some places, it's just not their thing. So if places aren't in the book that you think like, oh my God, this is so like, something that I would expect or whatever, there's a lot of different reasons why sometimes they aren't. But love Anderson Fair, again, it's still going strong, and we're happy that they're there. But sometimes, it just doesn't always work out. But again, that's something that we discovered, is again, how many music venues the city still has that are longstanding, and we just, the Austin book came out right in the pandemic in March. It was really hard on the authors, and we've been chatting with them. We really want to go on tour with them around Texas and sell our books together. But Austin's always done a really great job of promoting themselves as, the live music capital of Texas. And but Houston really has an amazing music history, and we really, put in a lot to showcase that, because I do think it's something that is overlooked. And there's, like you were saying, like Rockefellers, there's still a lot of venues that are here, and they may be reinvented a few times, and they may have weddings there as well, but they're still going strong. So it's exciting to see that they still exist. But Anderson Fair, yes, they were on the list, but they ultimately were not in the book. But we love them.
I mean, that is the hard part too, because it putting it out there, because you're like, you love all these places, and it's kind of like the more and more you start like discovering, the more and more places you wanted to put in, and then it was just like, oh, where do you stop? Because it wasn't that there wasn't a lack of amazing places to put in it. It's just kind of at some point, that's why you have a great editor who tells you you have too much public art, you have too many sacred spaces, like, and I think that's also the great part about it too, is that, obviously Emmons, the publisher, they have worked out a balance, and they know when they can see a proposal kind of, okay, this is good, but we need these different things. Now the weird bathroom, Karen can explain that maybe sometime, but I mean, just but I mean, hey, I know the Vancouver guys, they even like text, because we text with some of the other authors. I mean, they were like, make sure you get a really good bathroom, it'll sell books. And I was like, okay.
Wow. Well, when you really think about it, it's like, well, I mean, you got to go somewhere, so why not make it a place with your own private disco, or make it a place full of baby pictures of all the employees and every celebrity that's ever been there. Or, well, in the DC case, the bathroom got sold to Mayo University. And so they bought a new bathroom. They bought the whole building, but the DC bathroom was in the old museum, the news museum, which closed, which is really terrible because it was great. And do you want to tell them about your bathroom, Andrea?
Yeah, my bathroom throughout the bathrooms, in all the bathrooms in the building, there were headline bloopers. So you're sitting there on the toilet reading this, and something about, and the problem with this is that heads rolled, or the misplaced comma, or just crazy headlines. And they came from an actual bank of blooper headlines that a group of journalists have been maintaining since the 1960s. Yeah, and my bathroom is no longer available to the public.
Wait, what was your bathroom in Houston?
It was the Elizabeth Taylor's powder room.
Oh my God. Yeah, some of them are glamorous.
we went glam.
Yeah, we worked real hard to make sure ours was
Oh, I love that.
User-friendly. User-friendly.
I think we have two yours, and the one in New York is the Art Deco bathroom in Saks Fifth Avenue. But
Ooh.
most of them, like the
Oh.
Vancouver one, is a twin urinal.
Oh, yeah, on a picture.
Stand facing each other, and you're right there, and it's like very comfortable. But every single interview they've done in the media, people want to talk all about that toilet. They just talk about the urinal.
I went to somebody's mansion for a party, and in the master bath, they had two separate toilets sitting right out in the middle of the bathroom.
What?
Not facing each other, but kind of side by side, maybe 10 feet apart. Ah, it's very weird.
Values, I don't know.
Oh,
Can I interject something? I just wanted to say that another thing that these books are great for is that while you're out on your treasure hunt, since you are all writers, they're great writing prompts in all these places. You know, go take a powder in the crazy bathroom. You know, go check out this street art, and you know, maybe that will inspire the poem of the day. Or I haven't seen the Houston book yet, but you know, in mine, you can go find all kinds of places. You can go sit in a crazy garden. You can go walk a labyrinth. You can go see where Martin Luther King gave his last sermon before his assassination. And they're all writing prompts. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who are parents of small kids or grandparents of small kids that you're homeschooling, they're also great prompts for field trips.
Yeah.
Or, you know, for homeschool field trips, it's like, okay, we want to do Texas history. Let's go on a Houston field trip. So they're really multi-purpose because, like the ladies have said, they're chock full of stories. And, you know, the stories can be the prompt and say, okay, here's the story of this place, and have your kids write their own story or whatever it might be.
Well, it's fun. I mean, yeah. So my little one that I had the picture of, he'll be 3 next month, and this week I needed to go get a couple more pictures. The pictures I had were not good. So I was like, we're gonna go on a mural hunt, and he knows what that is. He like hopped in the car, okay, and like, you know, I drove by the big graffiti building, and he's like, oh no, you missed all the murals, mommy. You know, like he knows, and so it is fun because now when we drive around, he points them out. So they are really fun, just to kind of take them off beaten places and kind of help them kind of see art around the world, all around them in that way.
That's a great idea for WiVLA, that we could, you know, once we can gather again, we can get Joni and Dana to kind of take us on a field trip. And they have like, there are groups like Urban Sketchers and stuff where we could have writers and artists go to places and then spend a while creating something based on that place. So
that would be really fun.
There's a lot of good possibilities.
Yeah. Fun.
Yeah.
I know. That would be really fun.
So Karen, why don't you tell them about the 111 Places Challenge?
Why don't you tell them about the 111 Places Challenge?
Houston ladies, do you want to tell them?
So I mean, so I think it's once you go, though, I don't know how you prove. So do you take a picture of yourself at every place?
Well, so the 111 Places Challenge, no, that was good. When you go to every single place in a book, in any of our books. So if you go to all the places in Houston and you post to Instagram, or you could do Twitter or Facebook, as long as you tag us so that I know that I can see where you are and repost your adventures. And then when you get to 50 places, you win a free book, any one of our guidebooks. And then when you get to 75 places, you ping me and you say, I'm at 75. I want this guidebook. And then when you finish all 111, you get 2 free guidebooks anywhere in the world that we have. And you also get put on our wall of champions. Oh my God. We've got a lot of people who get started and then, or they do 30 or 40 on vacation. So they'll get a free book if they get to 50, but it takes a real hero to finish all 111 places. There's no time frame. It's all just for fun. It's all fun.
It's about a year.
I have a
Throw
quick
down the
question.
gauntlet.
I know. I like that.
I have a quick question. Your title, Chandler's. When I was living in Thailand for a couple of years, and there's Nancy Chandler has a guidebook in Thailand. It is just absolutely fabulous for Bangkok and Chiang Mai, and it's like an artist map, so you can see the places by the names of this is the flower shop and this is the silver shop and this kind of thing. So when where did the name come from?
Okay, well that started with me. My husband is in shipping, and one of the jobs that I always thought sounded really cool was being a ship chandler. Basically, they're kind of like the personal shoppers for the captain. At least that's what I kind of envisioned. And I was like, oh, that would be so much fun. Like you get to go, when they're in port and buy some like fabulous gift for their wife to, bring back. But really what most ship chandlers do is go, take the crew to Walmart so they can buy tons of cheap electronics. So it was not really like what I had daydreamed about. But I liked this, so when we were thinking about our business, we kind of like the play off of ship chandler, a trip chandler. We would be basically creating your customized guide to the city. So that was the play off of it. And that's really where it came from.
That's really great. I didn't know that. So that's very cool.
I mean, and that's why when you guys were talking about what, when we can all do tours again, we would love to do a tour with you guys because, Houston doesn't have enough tourism to do kind of like set tours, although, visit Houston and the hotel is always like, just, offer a tour every hour. And you're like, I have better things to do and make more money than that. But it is nice. And I think that's why we do enjoy our tours is people come to us and we say, okay, well, what do you want to see? And either we'll say, okay, well, we can do a neighborhood and then we'll craft it different. So all of our tours are different. I mean, yeah, we have like some templates that we kind of riff off of, but we always try and make sure that they are, specific to the group. One fun one that we did in December was a bride hired us because she basically was having all of her guests were from out of town. And many of them were flying over from Asia. And so she hired us for 3 days to just take people around. So we did like lights in the heights. We showed them like all the fun, like, Houston Christmas lights because they'd never seen kind of like Christmas stuff. We did a downtown walking tour, and then we did a tour of the Manil, which was and it was just really fun. And they were just so excited because they were like, oh, Houston isn't what we thought it was, So it's really kind of fun to show off the city that you can do different things. And when someone was saying, what do you do? Well, you just kind of have to start with an idea and say, okay, well, there's all these different things and how can we make that work in a tour?
I have a quick question for Karen. When you do a book like this and looking at the 111 places listed at the front, how do you decide what order to put them in? They're not in, how do you decide what's number 1, what's number 79?
Well, they're alphabetical. They're alphabetical. Unless
oh my.
It's okay.
So
it does start numerical, to be honest.
Right, exactly.
Numerical and alphabetical. Right. Right. It takes a second to figure it out. It really does. Because I'm like, but it's number 4 chapter, but it's on page 15. And so, but you figure it out. But if we do a regional book like Silicon Valley, that's a bunch of little towns and each town has 5 or 6 places. So we'll break it up alphabetically by town. So you'll see that. But there's in the back, there's also maps with the numbers of the chapters. So you can look at a cluster and say, oh, I'm going to be in this part of Chicago and I want to see this place. Right. You can see the downtown. Right. Yeah. So you can find, you can pick one that interests you and then look around and say, oh, there's another 6, 7, 8 right nearby. Let's get them and get a free book.
Some of them are historical markers, which are quite easy. So take those ones off first.
Yeah, good. And I would like to mention too, Andrea that while we were sitting here, my husband just ordered the DC book for our daughter who's living in Washington, DC. And
Awesome.
I'll encourage her to get out, and she likes to go different places. So yeah.
Tell her to
So
find me
good.
on Instagram and I'll take her for a walk.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. Instagram. You're what?
Yeah.
Andrea Seeger?
No.
Urban Safari 111.
There it is. Whoops.
Oh, did you type it?
Yeah.
You can put it in the chat. Oh, oh, good thing she typed it.
Urban Safari.
Yeah, so if any of you are coming to DC, if it ever
Yeah.
opens up again, we need the tourism because we're broke. Look me up and I would be happy to go for a walk with you.
Oh, very
Andrea
cool.
works-
Yeah.
She does tours with the local independent bookstore, Politics and Prose. And
Oh.
like there was a book called Lincoln and the
Lincoln in the Bardo.
Lincoln, have you read it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she gave a tour. That cemetery is in her book, but she created a little walking tour with the our DC photographer, and so he gave photography tips, and Andrea found all the graves of people that were in the book who were talking in the book.
Actually, it's not in the book.
I'm sorry?
That cemetery is not in the book.
Oh, okay. Well,
That
they
was a
love her
custom
anyway,
tour. That was a custom tour built for the bookstore.
but it's nice. I mean, we always have literary places and movie places, and
I do
But,
a Navy Yard tour at DuPont Circle. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a
This
couple of
shows,
tours.
Please showing off all the places. She's like,
aren't they pretty?
Yeah, if you know people who live in some other cities, they may be in, I mean, this is like a Christmas gift, great idea. Not only the Houston one for, you know, people coming or your friends here, but the DC one or Chicago or San Francisco or anything would be
The
great.
Minneapolis one is super fun. I was in Minneapolis last winter, and my friend was working. I'm like, I do not need to be babysitting, and I'm not coming across the country in the winter for a day and a half. So I contacted the author and I said, it's out of stock at home. Tell me where to buy it in your town. So I did. She sent me to this Native American bookstore, and I got to walk across a frozen lake, and I was looking at it. I'm like, oh, cool. I can do those. So I think in like 2.5 days, I think I did 14 of the 111 places.
Did you go to Birch Bark Books?
Yes, I did.
How
Wonderful.
lovely is that? That place is great.
Louise Erdrich is a wonderful author, and she owns that bookstore.
That's right.
Oh, what does she write? Does she write
She writes Native American, both contemporary and historical topics in Native American history, I guess. She's Cherokee.
Sweet. I actually just ordered 2 books from her store because the American Indian Museum shop isn't open here. So I called them up and I'm like, I'm looking for food memoirs. Help me out. And in like 15 minutes, my stuff was in the mail. That is a fabulous bookstore. It's called, by the way, it's called Birch Bark in Minneapolis. It's a Native American store. They specialize in Ojibwe and Cherokee, but it's all things by and about Native Americans, including an Ojibwe language section.
It's in 111 places in the Twin Cities too.
It is.
And it also has a confessional in it.
Oh,
really?
Just in case.
Just in case.
Maybe we can add that as a new category, a confession. Bathroom.
So are the books available at a website for different cities? Is that, or?
Every city carries its own book, and like Barnes and Noble will carry multiple, or you can special order through them, or they're all on Amazon. Do you know about bookshop.org? It's a website that was developed in March, and now they've sold millions of books, and they carry all our books. So they fund independent bookstores.
But
Okay.
Brazos
And also,
probably
but
get-
if you have your favorite neighborhood bookstore in Houston,
They can.
go to your bookstore, go to
That's
your
what I was
local
gonna say.
bookseller and say, it may or may not be in stock,
Right.
but say, can you please order it? And they'll order it for you. I know all of my bookstores, if they don't have something in stock for me, because I never shop on Amazon ever. I'm thankful for them because they sell our books, but I only shop in locally owned bookstores. And
Or go
if they
to the
don't have it,
library.
they'll order it for you.
Or the library, yeah. Brazos bookstores, the JCC here has been working with them a lot. They did the community read. They ordered that for everybody along with the J, and you got your ticket and the book to go to hear the author. So they're really good. And with COVID, they put the books outside in the paper bag and pick them up when you call.
Oh, right.
I like
Yeah,
that.
it's really nice.
I'd love to go in the store. I haven't been in there, but yeah, it was really easy.
Well, we're going to be winding things up here, but this is a great point to kind of end on that. You're not only supporting, we got local writers, but the local bookstores, and our Facebook page and event page do have a link to the Brazos bookstores listing on it. But Joni and Dana also mentioned Blue Willow, and then Cactus Music will be getting it, and some other places. So yeah, find your favorite. And this way, 2 for 1, you're getting a really cool book from local authors, but you're also supporting a local bookstore.
And the
So
ones,
check that
and all
out.
the ones at Cafe TH, we have already signed. So there are
yeah.
signed copies. So
Yeah, I love that place.
Where?
They're right down the street. They're on Peace. Yeah.
I didn't hear what she said. What did she say?
What is it called?
it's a place called Cafe TH. I'll make sure they put it in the information. So
Okay.
really a delicious lunch, and it'll be in a book. It'll be great.
Oh, cool.
Is that? 'Cause is that the East?
Any last question for Dana or Joni? Other than that, we're going to be winding up here. That's okay. All right. Thank you both for being with us tonight.
Thank you guys.
We've gotten a lot of good
you so much.
information. Everybody, round of applause. And check the chat. Okay, so follow Trip Chandler and all the links. You know, let's stay connected with Joni and Dana and see what's coming up. And yeah, we're gonna finish our Christmas shopping, ordering books. So, WiVLA, don't forget, we have things coming up. Writers will be, everyone will be getting the email for the Sign Up Genius, and we have workshop this coming Saturday. And then be thinking of your writing for November. We're heading towards the end of 2020, so let's hope nothing else big happens to us. And yeah, stay in touch. Contact anything you need help with, info@wivla.org. And don't forget to get your copy of our book too. Okay, Compassion.
Yeah.
I have to get that last plug in. All right, yeah, Melody's got one too. We're really proud of it. This is a great achievement for WiVLA. So
Remind
thank you,
people about
everyone.
can the people still sign up for the workshop?
No.
No, okay.
So
Sorry.
Leah, I want to compliment you all again on the book and the Holocaust Museum's video. They were both beautiful.
Awesome. Share it everywhere. And thank you all tonight. Thank you, Haley, for monitoring and keeping everyone connected and spotlighted. And Dana and Joni, we better not have heard the last of you.
No.
Keep in touch with us.
Thank you so
Tell
much.
what you want to post. Thank you. Karen and Andrea Seeger, great to have you with us too. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys go out and have a great night.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.